I always have trouble. Yeah. Hello, everyone. This is Knowledge Team Weekly, not weekly, bi-weekly. And today is April 11th, 2024, if I remember the date correctly. Yeah, that's gonna be tough. Like I'm first, like it's our first meeting here. And yeah, I have some announcement, which isn't like it's exciting from one side, sad from the other. So Casio has accepted another role on the product planning and will be moving in a couple of weeks.
I know.
Yeah. Uh,
The
so
alignment of all the events was not nice, but
uh, yeah, so I'm super sad. Like I worked with you more, like much longer for like last couple of years almost. Uh, Product planning is getting a great engineer on their team, um, and I don't know, Casio, maybe you wanna add a few words. Uh,
uh yeah. First of all, thank you everyone who I worked together on the last year or so. It was really good time to work with you all. It's nothing personal to any one of you. It's just a change in mind on things that I would like to work on. And with the borrow that I'm doing on work items, I see an opportunity in there that I would like to pursue. I think my knowledge will be better served in there for the company as a whole. It's sad to leave. It's sad to leave Vladimir as he just arrived in the team. It's sad to leave Yanis as he just moved back. As I said, I think the alignment of all the events is not great, but at the same time, these opportunities they come with a time box. So I had to take the decision either now or I wouldn't know when I would have another opportunity like that. So thank you all for all the time together. I will be here for a few weeks yet, and I hope to continue in touch with everyone. Don't be strangers, please. Let's do coffee chats and all those things. And yeah, thank you all.
Well, it's been a pleasure working with you, Casio. You're great to work with. And I know that you'll enjoy the time in product planning, and I'm glad that you're still in plan stage. So it'll be nice to still have some cross-functional work together, hopefully. And yeah, it's been nice. And yeah, I think Hamachi said in there we can always borrow you back. So uh, you're not that far away.
Yeah, we'll be neighbors, so it's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, on answering your questions, Matthew, on the official start date.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's also sort of I don't know. Sorry for how I present this. Like I literally get to know that the decision was final like 15 minutes ago,
Mhm.
and I had like one call with Kushal, one call with Casio to discuss it. So I'm still wrapping my own head around it, even though I know it was coming before. Uh, on the date, we just discussed with Kushal the April 29th, which gives us
Mhm.
2 full weeks to transition, and
Okay.
Casio can focus more on the knowledge work for now. And then, yeah, we can support uh, each other afterwards as well. But yeah, that's the official date. And I wanted to announce it here on today since like it looked like a best opportunity. Everybody is on the call. So even though it was a short timeline, but it's better to let you all know in person.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and it's my second time moving teams. What I did in the past and what I'm planning to do again, I'll probably create an offboarding issue for the team. So I'll try to share and document all the knowledge that I gathered during my time here in pages and product knowledge. Uh, and I'll try to share as much as I can of everything that I learned and all the opportunities that I see for the future of the group. And I, as everyone said, I'll be not that far. It will be way easier this time. And I'm planning to finish the pages multi-deployments thing even if I have to continue work on that when after the move, I'll try to see this thing through until it's GA. So yeah, I'll talk about that with Kushal as well when the time comes.
Yeah, I would. That's something that I think I would, if a conversation comes up on not being able to do that, I would just like to voice my opinion to Kushal or whoever the PM is, Amanda or Gabe. It's
Amanda.
Gabe? It's Amanda. Okay. Yeah. So I doubt that'll be any concern anyways, but
yeah, and we are closer to the final line than ever. So with the work that Yanis is doing, with the limits getting in place, getting in shape, I think we probably turning it on internally by the end of this month. So the rest of the work that will have to be done will be probably little bug fixes or reviews from the work. So even if I have to do this on my spare 10% of time, I think it's not a big deal, and I think it will be enough for getting this to GA. And again, it's bad timing, but it's really good that Yanis is back. I'm really happy with that, Yanis, because it will be way harder without you here. So yeah.
Yeah, super thankful Giannis is back as well.
Yeah, I would also wanted to reiterate that, yeah, thanks Cassio for all the amazing contributions there on the pages front. Even before joining the team, I've seen a lot of really amazing work being done there, and sort of leading this project from the technical perspective. Yeah. And yeah, sad to lose you, but happy for you, as it's a good step for your career to like work on a larger team, having a larger scope there, maybe wider impact. So yeah.
Yeah. Let's move forward, because if possible, I'd like to leave this a little bit earlier. I have a work item sync at 2, so if I can at least go through my point before, that would be great. But I understand that Matthew's point first, and I think it's better to go it first.
Yeah. All right, Matthew, your turn.
Yeah, so I finished the draft of release planning yesterday. I apologize, I didn't see your comment, but until I jumped on the meeting. But why don't we let's just dive right into that. So I know originally, Himanshu, you hadn't commented potentially shifting the wiki URL changes to 17.1 and then collaborative editing back to 17.0. Are you thinking, or did you? It sounds like there was a discussion on sort of flipping that back again.
Yeah, I had a discussion with Vlad this morning, and I think we should continue to have something to show to our customers that we are doing. And if we work on collaborative editing, that is like a marathon. Even though we are doing some work, we wouldn't have something to show because we have so many problems that we don't even know what they are. I think we can bring more value if we move the epic I linked in my last point, uncoupling wiki pages and slugs and file name and title. And I picked up 2 issues that we can prioritize for this milestone. That will be a better idea than working on something that may not have we may not have something to show for foreseeable future.
Okay. And for clarity's purposes, the resolution of uncoupling wiki page slugs, that still unlocks like permissions, comments, and is like needed work before that. Is that still true?
It's we need a lot of work for permissions and comments, and it only makes it marginally easier. By the way, I also got an email from Sally, who the the guy who was working on a community contributor who wanted to work on the GSOC issue. He has been making some progress, but I told him to create a draft MR for comments in wiki pages so that we can get feedback from the whole team, and it's not just me and him talking on the email.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's better to rather than just one-on-one.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, I'll make the shift on the release planning issue. Collaborative editing, it's still interesting. I think maybe we should focus more on like an internal release at some point rather than like having like putting the pressure on ourselves to do something big externally. And
Yeah,
so maybe in a future milestone, we can just talk about like, you know, even if it's not the best MVC, like what's something really small that we can release in one area of the product just internally, and then just have it to spin, and we can present that to maybe the rest of plan stage and say, hey, we have this capability.
yeah, that's actually what the goal was. But after discussion with Vlad, it would be more of an internal thing, and we wouldn't have something to show to customers. So
Yeah.
I think we also have work on the preserving Markdown. So I think once we wrap up preserving Markdown, hopefully within 2 milestones, we can uh, change our focus to collaborative editing and release it internally. The only thing we have to do for releasing it internally is just getting that MR I had merged. Even
Mhm.
though it has bugs, that is still okay for something experimental.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Matthew, does it like from the product perspective, what seems more important to you right now? This wiki URL changes problem or the preserving markdown thing?
Well, the wiki URL changes has been a long-standing issue, and collaborative editing is more of something people have wanted, but is more of like I don't know, I don't want to see it's like a pipe dream, but a lot of folks have wanted collaborative editing for a really long time. So there's no
Is
like
that
immediate.
real-time editing? Like two
Yeah,
people editing the same document?
exactly. Yeah.
That's
So
what
there's no. Oh, sorry.
that's
Yeah.
what
So,
Hannes worked on in incubation engineering for quite a while. Not
yeah.
particularly successfully, but yeah. I
Yeah.
think
So
that's a
there's.
bigger issue, right? That's
Yeah, and
Yeah,
there's been a. Oh,
I
go
have
for it.
already taken a look at Hannes' work, and unfortunately, his work is not something we can use because it's not well tested, and and it's also on GitHub. He hasn't written any tests for his code, so it's hard to debug. There's a lot of code, and we don't know where it breaks. So I did a prototype with something really basic, and that was working without using his code. So I think,
okay.
yeah, I think the problem was that he tried to make everything collaborative, like all at once. But I would like to approach it like iteratively, like just the description area. I don't want to make everything collaborative.
Mm. I mean, his problem description was slightly different. He didn't focus on wiki. He was focusing on issue descriptions.
Yeah,
And he approached it from I think he collaborated before joining GitLab. He collaborated with the university on like huge scale collaborative editing things like Google Docs scale. So it might be way bigger scale than what we need actually.
The approach I am taking enables collaborative editing everywhere, actually. I am specifically restricting it to wikis because we don't want to we don't want our blast radius to be so large. But the support I'm adding is in the RISTex editor. So anywhere in GitLab where you can use RISTex editor, you can use collaborative editing.
You know, just a random thought that might just be an idea. In a private project that I've been working on, I've used LiveKit, which is actually focused on video calls, and it's an open source tool, and they're doing this really, really great. And I don't know, I just had the idea that maybe collaborative working might benefit from not only text collaboration, but also video collaboration, integrating this open source functionality as well. I don't know. I just had this idea that this could be interesting to explore whether this would make sense to integrate for GitLab. I don't know.
I think we
What do you all
can,
think?
I think we can discuss this in the issue. You can mention, I will paste a link to the issue where we can discuss it. I think it would go kind of tangential if we start discussing it here in this call.
Yeah, it's just an idea. So yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanted to drop it.
I guess my next concern was that we discussed a little bit with Himanshu, and this will also require some backend work. And so far, both Casio and Yanis were working on finishing up the pages multi-versions. So I'm thinking, what would be the best way to kind of support Himanshu on the backend side as well?
Himanshu has been doing some great work on the back end already, so we can just review his work, and I think he'll be fine.
Well, I can send incomplete MRs and then send it for review, and then you can send patches to me if that works.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing as Casio. Well, I want to make sure that we have like the focus on multi-version to wrap it up, especially since we don't have a lot of time with Casio. So my strong preference is that we continue to focus on that. I'm not really certain how to shift that. Maybe we focus on multi-version until the 29th when Casio leaves, and then have some flexibility in Giannis's workload on the second half of 17.0.
My suggestion would be to focus on the multi-version until we are enabled internally, because this way we'll start having internal tests and all those things, and we'll have to wait anyways for seeing how the feature behaves and how the users are creating bugs about that. So at that time, we're gonna have a little bit of a buffer time that we might use to help Himanshu on his endeavors in there.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. I was so how do we feel then about maybe prioritizing on Himanshu's side this milestone, prioritizing this Rust parser thing? Sorry, well, I forgot like the preserving the markdown epic for now because it isn't blocked on the back end and kind of making it the main deliverable. And
Sorry to add, I don't really need backend support for this milestone. It's mostly needed for future milestones where we have database work or maybe syncing data from Gitly to the database.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then that's perfect, actually. That solves all our problems. But yeah, can Himanshu you then break down to issues like kind of what we can pull into this milestone already and what we need to push into the next one and where you need the backend support?
Great. I think we should move on to Casio's point just because I know just has a few minutes.
Okay.
Casio,
Yeah. Thank you. So I posted there some metrics that I gathered from Rails console in production about the pages multi-deployments and the tests that are already occurring. At some point, we had three projects with multi-deployments enabled. I think one of them got disabled in the settings. So now we just have 2 projects with multi-deployments enabled in production. From these 2 projects, not from these 2 projects, actually from the 3 of them, because one of them was enabled in the past. So we still have some versions in there, which just make me think that we might have to add this as well. Like when we disable the multi-version, we trigger a cleaning of the versions that existed. I'll take a note on that later. Anyhow, so my point was mainly that from these 2 projects, one of them has 80 versions, 80 version deployments for this page site. And if we extrapolate that, assuming that all the projects in GitLab.org will have about 80 concurrent versions, I did the math, but I forgot. Like, if I'm not wrong, we have about 100 projects on GitLab.org with pages. If each project has 80 versions, we're gonna have like 8,000 versions of pages only on GitLab.org, which is way more than the 500 that we are limiting. That's my first point. Which is fine because the limit is there to protect ourselves, and actually having 80 versions in each project might be too much. Having so many versions in concurrent merge requests might be too much, and the limits are there to help ourselves. Just sharing all the knowledge that I gathered from the metrics. But my questions are, and that's where I ask for your help, Matthew, because for me, it's still very confusing. I never had to go so deep on the difference between self-managed licenses and plans on .com. And those things are very similar and different at the same time, as far as I understand. So we do have plans only on .com, and all the limits I was planning to do only based on the plans that we have on .com. So 100, the limit of 100 for premium and the limit of 500 for ultimate. But when we go to self-managed, the license, we have way more licenses. We have starter, we have trials, we have a lot of different things in there that I don't really understand, to be honest. And since the main intention, the main idea of those limits is to protect the API, it's not only to make people buy more. I was thinking to use maybe a fixed limit for self-managed, because they are handling their infrastructure, so it's not on us. So they can use the higher tier of the limit, regardless of the license that they have. So regardless if they are starter, premium, ultimate, or whatever, if they are self-managed, then they have a license. They are already paying to have this feature. So we could just limit on the 500 on the top tier of the limits, because this will be a little bit easier on the back end, because I would have to check less stuff. And again, because the intention is to protect the infrastructure, and they are already handling their own infrastructure. So I don't think it makes sense to have different limits for different licenses, since they are handling their infrastructure, you know? And yeah, that's my question and thoughts.
Vlad, before I jump in, I know you had some points on there.
Just in general, I think like we should have some limit on the self-managed. By default, even if we make the feature free, we still should have that limit. We can make it configurable for them. Maybe we can make it configurable later if we don't have the UI for it right now. I agree with Casio on that it should be just a flat limit because it's not our sort of, I don't know, infrastructure.
Mhm.
But it should definitely depend, like we should definitely make this still the paid feature on the self-managed. So we should just decide from which tier will it be available. We can do the weird stuff. We can make it like ultimate feature on self-managed only. And we can say like, but on gitlab.com, we allow it from the premium with a little bit of a lower limit. But yeah, like flat limit makes sense, and we should guard it by the license, but which tier, what limits, we can discuss this.
Mhm. Yeah, let me look at the limits and sorry, let me look at the different tiers today, Casio, and I'll ask Melissa too, like if she has any recommendations. But it seems
Yeah.
relatively straightforward. I don't think we should like overcomplicate this. Like I think having a single limit makes sense. But yeah, I'll ask Melissa if she has any suggestions either. But I don't think it should be that big of a adjustment. So yeah.
Yeah, and my second question in there, thank you, Matthew. I'll wait for that. I'll try to transcript this question to that issue in a private, in a confidential comment. This way we can continue this conversation in there. My second question is actually for you, Vladimir, if you can help me to find a backend engineer to validate my implementation about all those licensing and all those things. I'm not sure which teams look over that and who would be a good mentor to myself on those things, because I confess that that's a very complex code base in there and a lot of product designing there that I don't really understand of licensing and all those things. So having someone with more expertise on that area of the code can be helpful, even to help Matthew to understand what we can do or cannot do on the back end as well. Because I feel a little bit lost, not only because there is those product decisions to make, but I'm not sure what is the right approach to implement those decisions as well in the back end, following all the guidelines, because they are a little bit poor written, I'd say, very little examples, I think. And the limits that we're trying to implement, I couldn't find anything similar to that exactly on other features. So having someone from there can help a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I honestly never done it myself, so I also don't know who to reach out. I remember, Matthew, that you had some discussions with on the issue about the plans and limits when you were discussing to add it as a storage limit. Who was that?
Yeah, that was with Alex Martin in fulfillment. So
Okay.
maybe a backend engineer from fulfillment team.
Yeah.
That could be a good
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, when I was discussing storage limits, I was discussing with one of the fulfillment teams as well. But to be honest, given my time constrictions now, and the fulfillment area was broken, a lot of different teams, and I just don't want to get on that web again and try to figure out where to ask. But yeah, I know it's one of the fulfillment teams. I'm not sure which one.
Okay.
Okay. I'll try to find somebody and I'll ping you on the Slack as well there.
Okay.
Okay. Casio, do you need to run now or?
I'll wait for Yanni's question about the multiple versions since I'm close to that, and then I will.
Okay. Just a quick question. Do you think it's possible to, at some stage, extend this functionality of multiple versions to have multiple domains, like different domain, different version?
I'll leave this to Vladimir because he has a lot of more expertise there than me.
Well, right now we're just a little balancing on part of the path prefix, but we could do it as a from the domain as well, right? It's just a property of the deployment, right?
Yes and no, because the lookup that we do from the domain happens on the Go side of things to then request on the API. So it's possible, but there's a lot of work involved in doing that I had a conversation with Jaime during the summit about all this feature and other stuff that I think we should do on pages. And one thing that we talked about that could improve the internal API bottleneck that we currently have is to move the lookup path to the Rails side of things. Because currently we kind of parse the URL that we have the request on pages, and then knowing which domain are we requesting to, we send that to Rails, and Rails do a lot of queries and respond with all the projects that have pages for that domain. So the work is kind of uneven. So part of the parsing is done on pages, and then all the query is done on Rails. If we do the parsing also on Rails, we might have more flexibility on what we can serve or not, and how we can figure out which domains we get or not for each project. So it's possible, but I think we should do all this improvement on the internal API first to then enable this kind of feature. It's my perspective. What do you think, Vlad?
Yeah, we definitely should at some point think about moving the lookup into Rails from Go. It will be more complex on the caching side of things on pages. So I'm not sure if Golang part will become any simpler, to be honest, because of this. But yeah, we should definitely do it. It will optimize things. It will allow us to raise those limits and so on. Going back to original question. First of all, you can kind of do it already, right? You can have multiple projects. You can set them up as how to call it, like push mirrors or pull mirrors, and you can set up a different domains on them. So in theory, you can, like with a little bit of trickery, you can already do it. But I like the idea. I would just create an issue and maybe discuss it later. It's definitely like we should definitely finish what we have now, get some feedback on it. If people will want it, if they will get like, I don't know, another 20 thumbs up on this issue, we may prioritize it.
Cool.
Okay, I'll have to go now. Talk to you all later. See you.
See you, Casio.
Like I said.
All
All
right.
right.
Yeah. So next point is mine. I mean, I joined on time, but I don't know. I joined on a different Zoom call. So I pinged on the Slack and then checked that the link is a little different. I don't know why. So my point is we implemented rate limiting, and then we implemented some connection closing logic over it to achieve our availability at 99.98%. But we haven't documented the last part which we implemented. So should we document it as a publicly available, because it is available in the issue, but it's not documented in the. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
if
in
you-
documentation, it is just written that we are just 1 second, let me iterate it. The connection that exceeds the specified limits are reported but not rejected. But right now we are reporting as well as closing it. So either we can just update this part, or we can elaborate on we are closing the connection for rate limiting by source IP and domain, and not about TLS connections and TLS domain. But I'm just open to discussion. What should we do it right now?
I don't have a strong opinion either way. Giannis or Himanshu, or do you have a strong opinion?
Because I mean, I'm just skeptical about the attacks that is going on. If we open up a new threat to them, and they might try a
Yeah.
different
I
approach.
mean, it's already public, right? In the issue, you said.
Yes, but in having in a official documentation, anyone can it will be more accessible.
I feel like if an attacker is wanting to do something, they're gonna
They
be
have the
willing
source
to.
code,
Yes,
they have
yes,
the
yes.
issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
In that case we can definitely
I think
document
the
it.
benefit of documenting it for legitimate users is bigger than the slide of security by obscurity that we're gonna get by not documenting it.
Yeah, something John and I talked about too is that like this might just be a reoccurring issue for forever with this particular category. Like people are always going to be trying to find creative ways to exploit us here. So yeah, I think let's document it, and then they're going to find ways anyways, and we'll respond again, and that's just sort of the ebbs and flows of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
What you also said, Naman, kind of, I don't know, ringed something in my head about reporting, not rejecting. We were rejecting the TLS connections before, right? We were just not closing the current ones.
I think in TLS connection we are not enabling the connection itself for the newer one, but I have to look into the TLS one logic because I was working on source IP and domain on rate limiting.
Yeah,
But it's not clearly mentioned that we are rejecting it anywhere.
yeah.
I think I will look into the code base and see if we are rejecting that part as well.
Well, yeah, because if we don't, we definitely should. And if we already do, we should fix the documentation. Cool.
Yeah.
Yanis, you
Because
have a next one.
working
Sorry.
with TLS is a different, it is done differently than with the rate limiting on source IP and domain. So both are totally different, and we are applying a different logic for both of them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely possible that those logics behave differently, or one was enabled, one wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the next one, now that Casio is gone, A is more important. I want to be a pages maintainer, but now that Casio's gone, it's basically just something for you, Naman. Feel free to assign pages MRs to me. I need to get some reviews under my belt. I can't go on the blue dot because I'm also a front-end reviewer and a back-end reviewer. So if I go blue dot, I'm going to get way more front-end reviews and still 0 pages. So we'll have to do this outside of Roulette. Feel free to assign pages MRs to me so I can get some reviews under my belt.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I have added some documentation regarding pages maintainer when you are on the PTO. So I'll link that to you. So it will help you to move in that direction faster. And I am also planning for a pages maintainer, but right now I'm stuck with the that pages with namespace in path work, and it has some black box areas which I need to investigate. So I'm not moving on pages maintainer side right now, but I also have the same plan. So if you have anything, just pass it on to me for review. Yeah, I'll add the link over here. 1 second. We can move ahead. I'll update the document.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for I don't know, posting this, Yanis. Another thing that you and Himanshu may also send front-end MRs to each other. It's a little bit of a silo in the team, but since we need 2 reviews anyway, maintainer and normal review, I think it will be all right. We'll get enough exposure to other opinions. But only if you both feel like it's okay.
No, it's okay, because before Yanis went on PTO, we did used to send each other some MRs related to the Ristex editor. So yeah, we can continue that.
Awesome. Yeah, do we have time, or do we? I think we're already over time, right?
No, we have a couple minutes, I think.
Yeah.
3 minutes.
Okay. Then write it on time. Like we're doing amazing. Yeah, I was wondering how does everybody feel if we start sharing this on GitLab Unfiltered? And
Making it public, or it is making it internal GitLab?
public.
I mean, some of the things that we discuss are of security things. So, I mean, it might come up. So, if that is the case, we just have to figure out how to tackle that part for a public one. Otherwise, I'm fine.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think we discussed anything security related. Like, I mean, we discussed the rate limits, but it's all already public, right?
Yes, I mean, not right now, but we will definitely come across such situations where we are discussing that part. So, we just have to make sure how do we tackle it, or it is being going on in the different groups. So, we will have some guidance for that.
Yeah. Yeah, another thing then, like on the next calls, if we'll discuss any clients, like, and we want to name them, then it's automatically will force us to make this private. So it's better to say we have a giant client who wants this than naming it. Yeah. Cool. Matthew, do you want to verbalize your point?
Yeah, I think we should publish on the YouTube. And planning issues, they used to be open. So Vlad, thanks for pointing that out. I was actually a little bit surprised. I'll ask Steve or Justin like why that's not the case anymore. But yeah, I think we should make sure those are open still. The other like general product like overview of all the teams is also private. So I'm not sure if there was like a decision made to do that. Sort of interesting.
Yeah, if we need to, we may even move the groups, like the planning issues somewhere. Because I checked
Yeah.
that for some other groups at GitLab, it's still public. So
Vlad, you should ask John about this because he actually moved it to where it's at now, not that long ago, maybe like 5 milestones ago. So maybe John has some insight into why.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that kind of makes it even kind of clear and obvious to me then. I think John moved it to make that all work with the automation and keep it all in a single place, and it becoming private looks to me like just a side effect, which wasn't really intended. But I'll ask John about it. Thanks.
Okay, that sounds good.
Cool. Any
Yanis,
last
I have added the link.
Oh, cool. Or yeah.
Yeah, any last points before we close today?
I just have to highlight Matthew and Lad, that the charts work that we were planning for the namespace in path, I think it will definitely move to 7.1 or 2. I will start it up after the current work that I'm working on in this sprint, but it will have some time. It will require some time for the ramping up to the charts work.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. It was very productive. I mean, really, really productive. Have a great rest of your day. See you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
bye,
Bye.
everyone.